Hey, it's Chuck Armstrong with Loudwire Nights, and this is Loudwire Nights on Demand. I loved hanging with Joel Colby of Inimical Drive as we talked about St. Louis, as we talked about co-writing, as we talked about a lot of stuff, man. This first aired on Wednesday, September 4th. Let's go. I have a friend in St. Louis who has been raving about this local band who is already getting much bigger than simply being called a local band, I'd say. And so when I started listening to them, I was like, yeah, I get it, man. I get why you're raving about them. And so when I got the chance to bring them onto the show tonight, man, I jumped at it. The band is Inimical Drive, and we're hanging with vocalist Joel Colby tonight. Joel, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. What kind words? What a way to start.
Yeah, well, hey, man, thank my buddy. You know, she was she was definitely a huge evangelist for you guys, and so excited to spread the love for Inimical Drive, man.
It's awesome. I love it.
So, you know, it was just a year ago you guys released your EP From Solitude, and tonight, you know, this year celebrating your latest release, the song Victim. How are you feeling?
Yeah.
You seem like you're feeling pretty good, man.
I feel great. We actually just got word yesterday that we broke top 20 for our first radio venture. Yeah. So I think we're at 15 today for secondary market radio, and we couldn't be more thrilled, man, doing it independently to land a slot like that. It's a big deal for us.
For sure, man. How long have you guys been making music?
Man, we've been garage band, basement banding for 20 years, if you can believe that.
Wow.
But
all right, man.
yeah, but about 10 years ago, started getting some national recognition, and signed with Authentic Artists out of LA, and got a little bit of notoriety, did some regional touring and that, but really 2 years ago kind of put the foot on the gas and stepped out nationally, and it's been working. So it's good.
I love that, man. Do you spend a lot of time looking back? Like when you said 20 years, you know, your voice got kind of like, ooh, 20 years. Do you spend a lot of time looking back, man, or are you always looking ahead?
I look back all the time, man. And I'm just grateful. You know, we've loved it from day one, and we've had a lot of support around us. And, you know, it wasn't really a venture to really do a whole lot more back then. And so when it was, we had the support around us, and it's been great. So I always tell everybody it's not wasted on me, man. It's I take all of it to heart, especially that we could still be doing this and finding ourselves at new heights. So,
well, I was going to say, man, like even just, you know, messing around 20 years ago, and then 10 years ago, you know, maybe taking it a little more seriously, and 2 years ago, really, really pushing it hard, like every step of the way. Yeah, certainly experiencing new highs or new firsts. And so, you know, to be talking about hitting, you know, 15 in the top 20 for radio, like to still be experiencing new things and things like that. Like, it's just, what an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it is. We had such a killer year last year, stepping out on 2 different national tours, and kind of landed us in the position of connecting with DL from Bad Wolves, which is where the single came from. And so, yeah, man, every time it's like, we're grateful, you know.
I love it. And you know what? We're fortunate to talk to a lot of musicians and artists on the show. And I don't know, maybe it's always been a thing, but it seems like recently gratitude has been like a topic that just gets brought up a lot. And I think everyone's just, really grateful for being here. And, you know, we're kind of back to normal, right? Following the pandemic and all of that. And so kind of realizing like, all right, you know, here we are. Let's not take this for granted this time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think too that, you know, it's a new world in music overall. So, you know, a lot of new avenues to kind of find your way. And there's no real rule book anymore. You know, you see all kinds of different stories of where did this guy come from, or where did this song come from, and still the kind of traditional route. And so I think overall, I too have recognized that, talking with colleagues and just other bands and stuff, that, you know, forever grateful that, you know, you can find an avenue in this thing and connect with people. So, but yeah, especially post-COVID.
Yeah, amen, man. Well, you mentioned DL from Bad Wolves, and he co-wrote this. You said Victim kind of came from him, but you guys co-wrote it together, right? Yep.
Yeah, we've been tossing some EPs or some demos for an EP, obviously coming out of the touring cycle last year, knowing that it was time to get back in and do some writing and that. So, we had made the connection. We talked about it while we were touring with them. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm trying to get into the producing route, so I'll get you guys out sometime. And that time was beginning of this year. And got into the room, and it's funny because we had been bouncing demos back and forth, and then it was kind of like, let's just start from something from scratch, and let's see what happens. So yeah, Victim was like really truly just studio magic, just all collaborating on ideas, and when it's firing on all cylinders and everybody's spinning around like, hey, oh, sick, and it just keeps going that way. I was like, oh, dude, this is amazing. So yeah, it was a really, really good experience, and the result wasn't just with us. It's like we always said, it like passed the homie test. You're sending it to people, and everybody's like, yo, what did you guys? It was like, I know, right? It's not just us, right?
Yeah. Have you collaborated with people in the past to that level where like you start from scratch and you kind of build something together?
Yeah, we have. I would say probably 8 or 9 years ago, we started going back and forth with a couple songwriters in Nashville that just good friends of ours that have been around a long time and found a good home in Nashville for doing some of that. And so we would bounce out there, write some stuff on acoustic, bring it home and take it into the studio. But actually our last EP, From Solitude, we went in just with riffs and brought in a producer, worked with the engineer and producer locally here to kind of make that collaboration work. And we wrote that from scratch in the studio together. So nice. We found that we kind of thrive in that environment, and I think it's really just the focus and the energy, when you get the same level of passion amongst a bunch of guys that are just firing on the ideas, it's we've found that we really thrive in that situation. So
you guys are based in St. Louis. I've heard you say Nashville a few times. What keeps you in St. Louis?
It's home. We love it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So I think just that, there's a lot more connection. We actually lived in California 10 years ago when we had signed that deal. And recorded that record out there, went back and forth, but it's just not really necessary anymore. We're friends with a lot of national touring bands that all of them live in different states and make it work and then come together for when it's time to come together. So, I'm from the Lou and I'm proud.
Right on, man. What's the music scene like these days? Like, as you guys are, considered local, right? But certainly getting this national exposure now. What's that scene like in St. Louis?
St. Louis has an awesome music scene. Awesome. We really do. People show up to the clubs, big clubs, and they've been doing that for us for years. We've seen a lot of really great bands break out of here. And, we've seen the kind of ups and downs and waves, but when somebody really puts effort into it, people show up in St. Louis, and that's the biggest part. You've really got that support system here. Yeah. Just that intentionality and showing up, right? That presence, like being there, not just saying it, not just talking, but actually committing to it and being there. That's huge. So, all right, I get why you stay there, man. yeah, for sure. And we have the legendary Pops in our backyard.
That's right.
Everybody knows Pops. I always say, I'm like, it's too good at Pops. We can, how are we ever going to leave?
I love that, man. So, all right. So, co-wrote this with DL. You've collaborated with people in the past. Clearly, something you enjoy. Kind of not just keeping it to yourself or keeping it within the band, but inviting a friend or an outsider into the process. Yeah.
I think we kind of had that realization as you go through member changes, that if you're switching out members, you're writing with different people anyway. And so we've kind of just always had this really good network of people around us, a lot of talented people around us. I've probably got hours worth of voice memos and notes that, we all have just for years bounced ideas back and forth, and we all get really excited about it. It's like when we get a new riff or idea, we're always collaborating with people anyway. And then, like I said, we kind of found that we're very comfortable in that space. A lot of people look at that as like a lot of pressure. Oh my gosh. It's like, I don't know. And I think the energy and the focus really can bring out some magic. And I know it doesn't happen that way all the time. We hear that every time. It's like, it doesn't always go that way. And I'm like, well, until it doesn't for us,
we're going to keep trying. Yeah. We're going to keep doing it.
Yeah. So, and you got the opportunity to work with a guy like DL who can just do everything, has great ideas, and, has excelled in that new space for him with Bad Wolves. And, why wouldn't you lean on ideas and want to get fresh collaboration out of that? It's, I think that would be a waste.
Is there a dream writing partner out there that you'd be like, man, if I could sit in the studio and write something with this guy or woman, that'd be amazing?
Man, I'm not much on like favorites or like a top thing or whatever, but everybody else around me would be like, yeah, right. Avenged Sevenfold.
Right on, man. Awesome.
I'm a big Avenged fan from like sounding the seventh trumpet. So, old school Avenged kind of really drove a passion with me in music and that. And so I guess I would land on that because everybody else would be like, yeah, right, man, that's the one.
That's not a bad answer, man. I love it. And listen, I always feel like if we can put those things out to the rock gods, who knows what would happen.
Hey, that's right. I believe in speaking it into existence, man.
That's right. Amen, man. So listen, Victim is out. Is this pointing towards something bigger for Inimical Drive? Are we getting an album, an EP? What's on the horizon?
I think we're being realistic. I think we're in a singles game, but we got a bunch in the bank. So we've locked in. Yeah, we've locked in more work with DL. Super excited about that. And then we've bounced. We actually just tossed around another newer idea. And so yeah, we've got a lot on the horizon. We've got some killer shows. No letting up now, man. We're having too much fun with it.
Man, I love hearing that. And it's interesting as we were kind of talking about gratitude and just, being in a new space these days with the industry and everything. Like you saying we're in a singles game. I mean, that's part of being in that new space, right? That's just, it's kind of the reality.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking to, we talked to Vince Neil when Motley Crue released their new song earlier this year. And he was like, we have no real desire to make a full-length album just based on how things are working today. And then we talked to, newer bands relative to Motley Crue, which is everything.
Sure. Right.
And it's kind of similar too. Like, yeah, it's a singles game right now. Not that you don't have a desire for a full length, but sometimes it doesn't make sense to toss out 10 tracks and maybe only 2 of them get the attention that you think everyone should get.
That's exactly it. The best way that I've put it, I get a lot of bands from this area. It's a tight knit scene in St. Louis, and a lot of younger bands reach out and ask, just advice and whatnot, or more how are you doing this and how are you doing that kind of thing. And the biggest thing I tell them is that it's a lot of heavy lifting to release a single, right? Especially independently. If somebody else was taking that for you, do what they tell you to do. But in a world where you're releasing it on your own, it's kind of like taking the heaviest boulder that you can find and rolling it up this giant hill only to let it fall right into a lake. So then it's like, how many nets can you throw to keep it up and keep the attention on it and stuff? And so I know what that's like releasing a single or an EP. I can't imagine trying to keep 10, 12 tracks alive. It's where it really gets the attention. Like what you're saying, it's people's attention span is like this, so it's more that you've got to constantly have something, but I don't rule anything out either. So we just kind of take it as it goes. And, the singles game, obviously we didn't want to wait. When we came out of the studio with Victim, we knew it was like, hey, new sound. And this is going to be the representation for everything we do for the rest of the year. We want to get it out now. And so we started working on that immediately, really without a plan for anything else, just knowing we're going to do this and see how it goes, and just know that we've got stuff in the bank. And it's worked better than anything in the past. So
awesome, man. Joel, Colby, thank you so much for hanging. Congrats on the release of Victim, this partnership with DL. It sounds great, and I cannot wait to hear more, perhaps on the horizon. Congrats on all that's ahead. Cannot wait to see and hear more from Inimical Drive soon. I know I will. So if you want to stay up to date with everything in their world, follow Inimical Drive at Inimical_Drive on Instagram. Find them on Facebook too. Joel, let's hang again soon, man. You are welcome back anytime.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. We'll be coming your way soon. So we'll have to catch up.
That wraps up this episode of Loudwire Nights on Demand. Stay caught up with everything happening in the world of rock and metal on the Loudwire app and at loudwire.com.